Okay, good morning. Welcome to the Salary Board meeting, November 2nd, 2022. We will open with public comment. We have one name. Hopefully I pronounce this correctly. Matt Weintraub.
Is it on? Yeah. Upright.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Salary Board. I come in peace. Matt Weintraub, Doylestown Township. I'm wearing two hats today. I know that there is a budget crunch, as there is every year. And from what I understand, that we and all the other row officers, and I'm sure the courts and you all are working diligently and vigorously to try to reduce the expenses for next year in our budget. The one thing that I have noticed, and I would just like to put on your radar, and I know this is not a surprise to anybody, I'm not trying to poke a sharp stick in anybody's eye, but my department, the District Attorney's Office, is really a blend of union and non-union people. And this is not a wake-up call, but everybody knows that their inflation has been through the roof, and we are having a difficult time retaining people and attracting good, competent people that are non-union people. They don't enjoy the security that the union provides. And as you know, I've taken a pretty good pro-union stance, but my department is blended. My attorneys are not union, and some of my support staff is not union. So the only reason that I asked for this time is because I understand that the next salary board meeting, which is in beginning of December, will be the last one and probably of the year when the budget gets passed and the cost of living increases for non-union employees in the county is passed. So I would just ask you to please consider giving more than what has now become a tradition, which is the 2% cost of living increase, because the way that I think about it, and I'm embarrassed to say my salary gets set by law, and my cost of living increase is going to be through the roof. It's going to be embarrassing to me. Because the people that work just as hard, if not harder, than I do, that are keeping us safe every day, can't keep up. They can't buy gas. They can't buy food. And so what they end up doing is going to other departments in the county, like your excellent law department, which pays very, very well. And they end up going to the private sector, or we can't get them in the first place. And I know that it's a matter of public safety, and you all have been great partners with me in keeping our department very, very strong, because it's for everybody's benefit here in the county. So when you are considering the cost of living increase, please consider that we are trying to attract the best and the brightest, retain the best and the brightest, and they just simply need to keep up with a living wage. And the way to do that is to increase the cost of living, increase the COLA by a little more than has been in the past few years. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, we'll move on to the approval of minutes for October 5th. Any comments or questions regarding the minutes? If not, is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Approval of salary board actions. Let's start with Mr. Regula, ERP.
Thank you very much, and good morning. I come today for your consideration changes to the ERP department positions. These position changes are in response to the Commissioner's transition report that calls upon IT resources across the organization to work together to promote IT and effective system utilization and identification of an ERP state of affairs that is currently outdated, that our Controller Bob Blanc has identified, that needs to be updated. So in partnership with those two concerns, I stand to ask for some changes to ERP. What we have identified here is changes that will allow the ERP department to work closely with IT and allow IT to support ERP in their initiatives. As presented here, I ask for a few changes from what was presented in front of you. One, I ask that every job title, a new job title, be listed with ERP in front of it so that those positions are clearly denoted as having ERP system responsibilities. And secondly, I ask for your approval that rather than changing the ERP manager position, that we put that on hold and make that unbudgeted and allow us to create a new systems analyst position. We will still save the taxpayers that money for 2023 because the ERP manager is unbudgeted and unfunded, but we will create a new systems analyst procedure that will be desperately needed as we embark on revitalization and modernization of our ERP systems. So as amended, I ask for your approval of items 1 through 6.
All right, just so I'm clear, just because we have the sheet in front of us here, items 1 and 2 I have changed from ERP manager to ERP manager to systems analyst. 3, 4 changed from ERP analyst to systems analyst. 5, 6 changed from ERP system administrator to technical analyst. Is that what you're asking for?
So I'm asking in front of items 2, 4, and 6 for the new job titles to also include ERP
Okay.
in the front.
Okay.
And for items 1 and 2 to read, 1 ERP manager will be put on hold, unbudgeted for 2023, but a new position of ERP systems analyst would be created instead of changing,
Beginning in January.
beginning in January.
Okay. Any other questions for Mr. Regula?
Yes, not questions, just comments.
Sure.
Mr. Regula, and I just really wanted to state my position for the record. We did speak. Thank you for, working with the Controller's Department and trying to come up with something that we could agree with. The ERP manager, as you know, and I just really wanted to state this for the record, that I do feel strongly that an ERP manager is needed. And so I asked you, and you agreed not to delete that position. So that was the first thing. The other thing that I wanted to mention was basically all of the controllers before me since ERP's inception, as well as the State County Controllers Association, believe that ERP should not be in IT, and I believe as well that it's a mistake. My predecessor, Neil Doherty, brought this concern up to this board in 2021. The ERP should not be moved to IT. And I believe that ERP placed under IT or reporting to IT is a mistake. So I just wanted to reiterate that position, that like my predecessors before me, it's a mistake. As you know, and I've stated this to everyone in this administration as well as to you, that the integrity of the data is what's important here. I do believe that ERP should work with IT, and I've told you that as well. I'm a big proponent of working with IT. We have to get along. We have to work together to govern this county. When, on my second day here, ERP, I was asked to vote in favor of, ERP moving to IT. If I knew now what I knew then, I probably wouldn't have voted for that. However, I was assured that the segregation of duties would remain, ERP would remain an independent department, and that IT would maintain the integrity of the data. And so that's what's important to me from the controller's perspective and from my office's perspective. And so I just really wanted to reiterate that. My concern is the intermixing. I agree with you that ERP needs to work closely with IT. However, I disagree that ERP should become a part of IT. And so I will thank you for making these changes today and in recognizing the controller's concern the ERP needs to remain an independent department. And so that's why I agreed to make these changes, as long as we keep ERP, these employees as ERP employees, if you will. So thank you for listening.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? If not, is there a motion to approve amended items 1 through 6?
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. All right, thank you. Appreciate your work. All right, Human Services? Who's doing the, is that Yvonne? This is items 7 and 8.
Morning.
Good morning.
So I'm Yvonne Kowalski, the Community Engagement Officer here at Human Services, and I oversee the co-responder program. And I'm coming to Salary Board to request approval to add 2 co-responders to our manning table that will be located in Upper Bucks. And the chiefs in Quakertown, Dublin, Penridge, Richland, Percy, Tinicum, and Springfield have expressed the need for co-responders in their area, and they are eager to partner with us and have the 2 co-responders there in one of their stations, or divided within their areas there. So just in case some of you don't know, the co-responders, we pair clinicians and social workers with police officers to divert people from the criminal justice system. And the first year, the co-responders will be paid with the Opioid Collegiate Settlement Fund, and the second year be paid with the State Opioid Settlement Fund. And we're also exploring grants. But then after the 2 years, the police departments will assume the financial responsibility of their salaries, but they will still remain county employees. I request
All right.
that they be added.
Any comments or questions regarding numbers 7 and 8?
So excited to see that we are moving to the upper part of the county, and I'm so grateful that those chiefs were willing to work together and decide to do this. So I'd be happy to make this motion.
Yep, go ahead. Motion made for 7 and 8. Is there a second?
Second?
All right, all in favor? Aye. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Children and Youth? Ms. McCune?
Good morning, Commissioners. I am here to request 2 positions that have been in our budget and had been approved by the state previously. The first is what's called a social services aide, or what we call a case aide. The amount of transportation for parents and children to have visits has increased. Our current judge is very much supportive of additional parent-child visits, which we're supportive of too, but we need the infrastructure to be able to do that. There is not a day that goes by that the entire agency receives emails requesting help for transportation, which means our staff members, master's level, bachelor's level, driving people around because we don't have enough infrastructure to handle the additional requests for visits and transportation. So I am requesting that that additional case aid be added to our complement. The second position I'm requesting is a clerk typist 2. We made an assessment of someone who had the title of caseworker and was doing more clerical work, and talked with her and were able to have an agreement for her to demote into an open clerk typist position that we had. That was what I consider to be positive. And now, of course, we need someone to fill that clerk typist position that we had open. So I'm asking that that also be filled.
Comments or questions for Ms. McCune? What's, in terms of paying for the salaries and benefits for these 2? Are they, it's already budgeted, these 2, or?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
And it's 70% from the state?
It's probably 80/20.
Okay, okay. All right, if there is no more questions, is there a motion for items 9 and 10?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks very much.
Okay, let's move on to the Prothonotary. Ms. Christian?
Good morning, Salary Board. Thank you for allowing me to be before you this morning. I come before you regarding a position that's very important, not just to the Prothonotary's office, but to the county at large. I am asking for a position change in the family division of my office. The current position is Protection from Abuse Coordinator, and I'm asking that it be changed to Protection from Abuse Administrator. We just finished October, which was Domestic Violence Month, and some shocking statistics were reported. 1 in 3 women, 1 in 4 men can expect to be a victim of domestic violence in their lifetime. Violent domestic homicides are up 240% across the nation, according to the Philadelphia Inquirer. And in the Prothonotary's office, in the family division, we are feeling this uptick. We see it every week in our protection from abuse orders, both emergency and more permanent. Our protection from abuse orders are up some 27%. And as such, we do need to make an adjustment to the position of coordinator, moving it to administrator. And I don't know if you guys have been to Protection from Abuse Court, which happens every Wednesday lately, but it's more like Grand Central Station than beautiful Bucks County. We have some 40 cases per week where we have defendants, plaintiffs, witnesses, sheriff's staff, court admin, my staff, lawyers. There are so many incredibly important moving parts that need to be facilitated and handled. And the individual who's doing it now is doing it with great integrity and success. So I do ask for this change. I will share with you that I did meet with my own staff regarding budget, as well as these two fabulous gentlemen, Mr. Boscola and Mr. Russ. And I have pledged to reconfigure my own budget as it is currently to absorb the cost of this raise and moving forward into the next few years. So COVID brought us this problem. We are hopeful that it will start to decline, but not overly optimistic given the current economic situation that the people in our county face. And also we do see that the BERA program will be ending, and we expect that that will be putting more pressure on our constituents. So we would just like to be prepared and continue to do the good job that we're doing. So I would ask you to approve this position change.
Okay, thank you. Comments or questions from Ms. Christian? Nope. No? Okay, and I do appreciate you coming around to us and talking to us about it. If no questions or comments, is there a motion for items 1 and 2 for the Prothonotary's office?
So moved.
Second?
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay,
Aye, sorry.
And I also would just like to note for the record, because this is an employment position, that for this position and all others in my office, I will be asserting my 1620 rights, as I have done throughout my time as Prothonotary. So thank you very much.
okay. Okay. Mr. Haran, your turn.
Good morning, co-salary board members. Mr. Chairman, appreciate you allowing me to come before you today to talk about some of the issues that I have. Before you, I have a very robust ask. I am looking for 8 new deputies, 2 clerks, and also a minor change of title from permit specialist to sheriff's clerk, which does not entail any change of pay. Let me give you a little background where we are how we got here and where I hope to go in the future and some of the deficiencies that we have right now. As you know, we moved in here in 2000, well, I wasn't here, but the county moved to the CJC across the street in 2015. Prior to that, 10 years ago from today, there were 7 courtrooms in the county. Today, we now have 19 courtrooms, 18 on the other side, and 1 in this admin building where mental health and drug court is held. We also have 18 judges, 15 full-time, and 3 senior judges. And then, as I said, we moved into CJC in 2015. My staff in 2011 was at 76. That's full staff, clerks and deputies. The staff on the 22 manning table is 82. That's only 6 additional people over that 10-year period of time. But a lot of things have changed. One, we've increased our courtrooms 2.5 times the amount of courtrooms. I've heard some statements that, well, crime's not really too bad in Bucks County, crime is down. I did 2 checks in general with 2 decent-sized townships, one in the lower end, southern end of the county, and one to our neighbor here, Warrington Township. And the rumors that crime is down is not true. Besides the Eagles and the Phillies on the news every night, if you get through that, you'll see what's going on in the city that borders our county. With Philadelphia having over 400 homicides and 1,000 carjackings, it is the murder and carjacking capital of the United States at our back door. Bensalem Township this past year has seen an increase of 12% in Part 1 crimes. Part 1 crimes are major crimes. That's homicide, rape, robbery, burglary, arson, kidnapping, and theft. Warrington Township has seen an increase of 15% of Part 1 crimes. Bensalem Township has seen a 50% increase in property crime. That's people breaking into your houses and breaking into your cars. Warrington Township has seen an increase of 30% of property crimes. Bensalem Township has seen an increase of 30% of retail theft. That's people stealing from our stores, stealing from Walmart, Home Depot, Lowe's, those stores in particular, Kohl's. Warrington Township has seen a 40% increase in retail theft. My 36 years of law enforcement in Bensalem, 16 years as the chief of police in Bensalem Township, the people that are committing retail thefts, the people that are breaking into our houses, often have county warrants on them when they're committing those crimes. Obviously, if they were not on the street, one would assume that they would not be out committing crimes. We could talk about that a little bit more. Bensalem Township has seen a 62% increase, 62% increase in illegal gun seizures. I'm not talking about guns that are confiscated by court order. We're going to talk about them in a few minutes. Those are people on car stops that are carrying guns in our county. I would surmise that the residents of Bucks County do not want those people on the streets. Many of them have warrants for their arrest. 2021, the Bucks County Sheriff's Office issued just over 13,000 gun permits, and that number continues to rise. Guns seized last year, 208 guns. According to Act 79, these are guns that were mandated to take when judges ordered weapons, and that's just guns. I'm not even talking about weapons. I'm not talking about crossbows. I'm not talking about knives. I'm not talking about machetes. And believe it or not, judges order those weapons removed as well. But these are 208 guns that are turned over to the sheriff's office, many by the courts, many by other police departments that don't have the room or the manpower, the person power to take these seizures. Our protection from abuse orders, you just heard the Prothonotary talk. Last year in 2021, we served 1,067 PFAs. As of September 30th, 2022, we served 904. With 3 months left of the year, you can see we're going to surpass 2021's numbers. We have right now approximately 8,000 warrants that are not actively being served. These are things I really don't like to discuss in public, but I have no choice in this matter. 8,000 warrants. So when a judge issues a warrant for your arrest in Bucks County, sheriffs don't come looking for you. You stay wanted because we don't have the personnel to do it. 1/3 of those warrants are felonies. 1/3 of those warrants are felonies. Rule 600, which I'm sure the district attorney could articulate a lot more than I can, basically, in a nutshell, says that somebody has to be brought to trial within 365 days. We have to constantly, I think it's every 90 days now, we have to try to make an aggressive attempt to find out where these people are. Making calls, doing internet searches, going to past locations, because if we don't, and we don't have a paper trail of looking for these people, then when they're picked up after that timeline, the case is pretty much dismissed. I think that's a very layman's assessment of Rule 600, but I want you to be able to understand. The sheriffs are the ones tasked with complying with Rule 600. Our office is the one complying. Therefore, if we don't comply with that, people's charges get dismissed. Victims don't get their day in court. Criminals remain on the street. We're constantly working with adult probation and parole, serving their warrants. We extradite approximately 10 people a week. I cannot believe when I got here the amount of extraditions that we're doing out of our area, but we're also getting other people from outside. That's the ones outside of Pennsylvania. We're flying or driving to other states to bring people back to Bucks County for justice to be served. Criminal Justice Center security. We're in charge of courtroom security, where we should be doing gun permit revocations. That's when a law enforcement officer, the 900 police officers in the county, when they stop someone and the person shows their permit to carry, the sheriff's office has the authority to revoke that. I work with local law enforcement, but we also have to have sheriffs to do those investigations to make sure that we're taking people's guns and that we're taking people's gun permits properly. So currently, we're not doing that. I hope to, right now, we're supposed to do investigations on people that are selling firearms. I want to increase and have not increase, I want to create, because it doesn't exist, a 4-person warrant team that's going out on the streets actively. Their sole mission was to look, seek, and investigate those 8,000 warrants and bring them to justice. Extraditions, I want to make sure they're timely. I can't tell you how many times we're calling other states. We're getting governor's warrants. We're asking, you need to hold this person a little longer because I can't get anybody out to get you. Some states will comply, some states cut them loose. That's criminals back on the street. That violates Rule 600 because now the clock's ticking because we had him in custody and we let him go. One of the things I promised on the campaign trail, now this is my problem, is that I want to make sure that our sheriffs are getting to police departments in a timely fashion to pick up the people that they come in contact with that have county warrants so we can get them out of the local police stations up to Doylestown into prison. Because if not, police officers have to stay in their station or somebody has to stay and watch that individual. The domino effect is that takes people away from patrolling their communities. That takes people away from handling 911 calls. That affects the residents of Bucks County. Now, I know we're a commonwealth, obviously, and every municipality is in charge of the protection of their community. That sounds good on paper. That's not how it actually works. If I can't get a sheriff to a police department in a timely fashion, that keeps a police officer off the street. Some departments only have maybe 2 officers patrolling their neighborhoods. It's our job to work as a group to get those police officers back on the street as quick as possible. Clerks. I've asked for 2 clerks, so I just don't want you to think that was thrown in there. We have 3 people assigned full-time clerks to do the warrants, to work on the warrants. They are overwhelmed. When I first came in there, one of the things I did is also evaluating security of the building, which I really don't want to talk too much about in public. But those 3 clerks that are assigned to warrants, I don't think they smoke because they don't take smoke breaks. They're at their desk all day long. That is nonstop, and we have to continue with the Rule 600. I need somebody almost full-time just doing that, just to be able to check the status of all these individuals so we can keep Rule 600 active. The other individual, I'm looking to do intel for the warrant team so I don't take a sworn officer off the street to do the background information. If you remember some years ago, I changed the policy in Bensalem Township when this happened. An FBI agent got killed walking up to the door of somebody that was wanted by the FBI the FBI had a warrant for an individual for child pornography. Hideous crime, but they're not normally violent offenders. That FBI agent was killed. That FBI agent was shot right through the door. I changed the policy in Bensalem Township that every single warrant we do background investigations. That does not happen in the sheriff's office. The last thing I want to do is have any type of service or ceremony for a sheriff that's hurt in the line of duty or, God forbid, killed in the line of duty. So once I can get these people, we're going to do background and investigations on every single warrant that we're serving. We need the intel to make sure that our sheriffs and our police officers are safe when we're out serving warrants. It's not just the sheriffs on the street, it's also the local police officers that work with the sheriff's office when we're serving warrants. Just yesterday in Bristol Township, a warrant was being served, an individual jumped out the back window, and it tied up Middletown, Bristol, and the sheriff's office for hours searching for this individual. I have a job to do, and my job I take very seriously. I've been in this county for 37 years now. I plan on staying here. I just moved from Bensalem to Bristol Borough. My town changed, but my county has not changed. I took a pledge, an oath, in front of Judge Bowman, and I will do everything in my power to uphold that oath, and I will work hard to keep Bucks County safe, but I can't do alone. I need the four of you to do this with me. These are the things I'm asking. I know it's a lot of money. I know it's a big ask, but there's nothing more important. People care about three things I've learned as my tenure in Bensalem Township. They care about finances, they care about their schools, and they care about safety. Everything else is nice, but we can get, not get. If your family's not safe, your home's not safe, your possessions aren't safe, your kids aren't safe, there's no bigger problem than that. And I would think that every resident of Bucks County would put that number one. Thank you. I don't know if I make a motion or
I have a couple questions.
ahead.
First thing I want to say is, and with all due respect, you're acting like you're a police chief, and you're not. You're the sheriff. You transport people to the jail and back and forth, and you do security over there. I feel like you just scared everybody in this county, and that wasn't necessary to do. What was necessary, and what I'm going to ask you in a minute, is how are you going to pay for it? Because we don't normally ask for 8 new employees in November, and the rule with salary boards since 2008 is you need to figure out how you're going to pay for it. So I'll ask you that in a minute. But I do want to clarify that drug court and mental health court are like a half a day a week. So it's not like this courtroom is under all kinds of security. So the exaggeration concerns me. There has been 8,000 warrants out there since 2008. It's just part of the sheriff's department. You find somebody, somebody else gets one. So this would be a never-ending chase. I guess I'm also concerned about why we're switched the extradition service to begin with. I didn't think that the previous sheriff should have done it, but we're spending all this money traveling, and you can get cheaper services out there and eliminate that. I do want to thank you that you took a few sheriff deputies that were out there in the social work field and you put them back into deputy field, so I appreciate that, but you now have them doing real deputy work again. So I agree you probably are going to need a couple, but this needs to be layered in because we cannot afford 8 new deputies right now. And as you tell us how you're going to pay for it, so I figure you're going to need your budget up almost $1 million a year. How are you going to raise $1 million? I'd also like to know why all the other counties' sheriff departments close at 4 and we're open in the night.
Well, we could take that apart. I'm not the 2008 sheriff, number one. If 8,000 warrants on the street is not acceptable, we're going to work them, and we're going to work them hard. I've been in law enforcement now for 37 years, and I'm not going to live by, well, we've always done it that way. We change if there's 100, and I want to apologize. I'm actually just going off the cuff thinking of this, so I apologize about. Well, we won't use a disease. If there's disease A out there, disease A, and there's always 100 people with this disease, do we stop fighting to find a cure for that disease? No, we continue to spend millions and millions of dollars as we should. So the fact that there's always been 8,000 warrants is not acceptable to me. I'm going to bring that number down. I guarantee you. We're going to be out there picking people up. If you're going to have to build a new jail one day, you might have to do that. But that's not I am not judge, jury, and executioner. I'm the sheriff. I am not the judge. I didn't go to law school. That's not my job. My job is to bring them here to justice for the DA and the judges and the PDs to do their job. So that's where my job stops, and I intend to do my job. As far as other departments, Montgomery County, they have the Montgomery County Sheriff's Office. If they close at 4, then they got big problems in Montgomery County because they have 124 employees in the Sheriff's Office. Now, I couldn't find where that's broken down and sworn via civilian staff, but my guess is, from what I'm told, they have about 90-plus sheriffs. So, I don't know, and they do a lot more stuff. I didn't come before you to ask for bomb squads and mounted, which is what they do. So we're not doing that. So we're doing what I think is the bare necessity to get the job done, and we're not doing it in Bucks County. I did not take this job to be a part-time sheriff. I don't have other jobs.
So how are you going to pay for it? Let's get to that part. How are you going to raise $1 million?
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't see you really asking too many other people those questions when they come.
Actually, I just asked Ms. Christian and I asked Ms. McCune that question.
What's that? I didn't hear that.
I asked Ms. McCune that question and I asked Ms. Christian. Ms. Christian actually gave the answer to that question.
We ask every single time. That's the
Yes.
expectation.
Well, I put this in my budget and it was taken out. And then I was said, you have to go before salary board, and if it gets put in the budget, then they'll find money for it. I mean, it's not my job to raise the money. I mean, I don't know what you want me to do, what you want me to raise. Right now, I'll give you for instance about how things are so messed up in the Commonwealth. Somebody applies for a gun permit in Bucks County. I think it's $20. I sign off on these. I was reading one. I'm like, this guy, how can he get a gun permit? I locked him up 100 years ago for a felony, drug delivery. He knowingly lies. He finds it. You know what I have to do? I have to return his $20. It costs the county $30 to return $20. So the problem lies further than my office. I'm going to be working right after the election with Casey Thomason. Told me when I told her this story, she couldn't believe that this is, I mean, what goes on in Harrisburg is almost criminal. I mean, that's just inept to do something like that we have to pay people. We have to cost us more money to give back. So I'm not in the money funding, raising, getting funds.
But that is an expectation, and I wanted to say that I asked you to layer this in.
Right.
To start with 2 today that we could afford, and then try to get 2 more in January. This money is not growing on trees.
I get it.
And I feel like you're refusing to do that. Like, we have to reach a compromise here. Let's layer it in and figure out, maybe you're gonna do more services, and then you're gonna be able to make some money that way. Maybe you can raise a fee over there. Maybe you stop the night shift so that you're paying less differential. But start with 2, and then let's work with the budget system and try to see how you can afford this.
And I don't know. I mean, I don't know if Mr. Khan is here or not, but I'm not sure. Is he? I don't understand, because when I was in Ben Salem, the police department is not a money-making business. I don't think you could use the sheriff's office as like the fire departments, the fire inspectors. I think by code they could make money to support themselves. The police department, I think, if you're saying the police department or sheriff's office should be able to fund themselves, I think that's a problem.
That's not what I said.
I think it's a problem.
I did not say fund yourself.
Well, you're saying I have to find the funding for this. I have somebody now. We're working on different grants. We're trying to get funding. We're doing soliciting. We just added the 2 bomb dogs. We were able to get the money from outside of Bucks County to pay for that. So we're doing the best we can. And you know me, I'm very good at funding in Ben Salem. But we have a crisis today. Will we work for funding to help? Sure. You have my word on that. But 2 today does nothing for me. And also, I'm glad you mentioned that, Commissioner. We're, with the exception of maybe Director Kratz, we're probably the only other department that once I hire somebody, I have to send them to an academy. So in the academy class, they will not hold a spot. They want a name, a social security number, and a date of birth. So we're closed out of the January class. I'm told the April class has spots available they will not hold unless I actually have names. So the process today, if this gets awarded today, I have to come back and get the funding, obviously. But this is going to be a long process. I don't go tomorrow in my office and boom, hire 8 people. This is going to be months before I can hire these individuals. It just doesn't work that way for us. Somebody comes to the DA's office, they don't first go to law school. Somebody goes to the PD's office, they don't first go to law school. They're already, somebody comes to whatever, the nurse at the prison, they're already a nurse. Mine and probably Director Kratz were probably only the 2 departments where people then don't go out for the training, because no one goes to the Sheriff's Academy unless they have a job. It doesn't make any sense. And it's a long academy. So this is not a process that you say yes today and they're hired tomorrow and the clock starts ticking. In all realistic, these people probably won't, well, hopefully I'm shooting for April. So you're talking the first quarter of 2023 before we see these people. But we're in crisis mode. I cannot, we had 8,000 warrants back then. We can have them forever. Then the voters should not elect me again. Because that's not what I was hired to do. For 3 years, I'm going to do my darndest to get criminals off the street and hopefully another term after that. But that's what I promise to do. People that are due their guns, I'm going to give them gun permits. I'm not going to slow that down. We've increased that. People have the right to bear arms, and I'm going to make sure people that in Bucks County people like their guns, and if they want to get gun permits and they legally can get gun permits, I'm not going to hinder that. I'm going to make sure they can get their permits. All those that can't have guns, I'm going to make sure I get them taken away. Judges that order guns, I'm going to make sure we take them away, because no one's getting killed on my watch because I didn't have enough people.
I would make a motion to approve the addition of 2 sheriff deputies.
I'll
I have
second.
some-
But go ahead. You had a
I have
question?
some comments. Thank you, Sheriff. You have demonstrated, in my opinion, that your department is in crisis mode. I've known you for several years. I know you're a person with integrity. However, this is a big ask. So as controller, I decided to do a little bit additional homework, if you will. So with taking your stats that you've brought here today, and that we've spoken before in previous salary boards, this is a matter of public safety. So I didn't only speak with you, I also spoke with our DA, Matt Weintraub. Now, Matt, with all due respect, he could not speak to your resources, but he could speak to public safety from the DA's perspective. And he described some critical functions to me. He basically told me if the sheriff's department is not able to pick up bench warrants, that is a public safety issue. He said if the police are now required to pick up prisoners to transport, that's also a public safety issue because as you described earlier, it's taking police off the streets because now they have to transport them or stay in the police department watching the prisoners that they've picked up. He also said sheriffs are the security in, oh, this stopped, I think. Or it beeped. It beeped, it didn't stop. Is that okay? Okay, sorry. So basically, and we know that sheriffs are the security in the courtroom. So if there's a shortage, that's also a public safety issue. Now, I know you spoke a little bit about when the Criminal Justice Center opened up, and I believe you said in 2015. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe before, when this was the courthouse, the sheriffs didn't do the security at the front gate.
That's correct.
And now the Sheriff's Department is doing security over at the Justice Center. Is that, am I right? Okay. So that's an increase in your manpower, I guess. So I thank, Matt for taking the time to speak with me just to explain those critical functions. But I didn't stop with our DA. I also spoke with President Judge Bateman to see what his concerns are, if any, with regard to what he's seeing as President Judge and the courthouse. So, like we heard today from our Prothonotary, and you also explained, he said there are more PFAs being filed now than ever before. That's not a quote, but that was what I understood. He said there's so many PFAs being filed. So that's he described it as high conflict areas, which require sheriffs for the protection of the Prothonotary's office, for the protection of victims, for protections of courtroom staff, and the Justice Center staff, as well as judges. He said in 2016, there were 11 judges. Now there are 15 judges. So the bench has increased by roughly 25%. He said effective January, there will be 6 judges assigned to criminal. So there will be 6 judges, and Matt reiterated to me that that's also a change happening. He said you need at least two sheriffs in each courtroom in high conflict areas. So to me, you've demonstrated that this is a matter of public safety. And I intend to vote to keep our judges safe, our county employees safe, as well as our community safe.
Thank you.
Just real quick, this is really, I'm not sure that it is the, public safety issue that you're describing it, but we still need to figure out how we would fund this. And I've made a motion, and it's been seconded for 2. And I would suggest that you come back and ask for more as we show it. Now, I don't think we should forget that the judges promised us when we built that courtroom that it would be less expensive, that because when there's more courtrooms, more people settle, so there'll be less cases. I voted against that courthouse, but that's what they claimed to my predecessors every single time. So I expect when the 5th floor courtroom opens, we're gonna have less cases for you to take care of. And the other thing is the judges are changing to a calendar, and the district attorney has assured me, as have other people, that we're going to be able to move in a more efficient manner over there, which is another reason I would say start with 2, do 2 more maybe in January, let's see how the calendar works, and then let's do more with the budget in maybe March. That's a compromise that I think you should go with, because if you don't, I don't know how I guess you won't get anything, because the budget will come around and it won't be in your budget. So, let's work together rather than have this loggerheads.
So the calendar, the courthouse is going to be more efficient maybe for the DA's office and the PD's office. So if you have 6 criminal cases, and I heard no more than 3 jury trials at one time and 3 waiver trials, that's if the possibility of 6 criminal cases, and that, I'm not even talking about co-defendants, so we're only talking about 1 prisoner for each. That's a minimum of 12 deputies right there. Just for that small piece of what we do. You heard everything else. There's days, I don't know, it doesn't matter, we're a D-Day, I guess. There are days that there are no deputies on the road. MasterCard paperwork's not being, if you owe MasterCard money, we're not serving the paperwork. Evictions, we have to push off. We have nobody serving warrants. I mean, there's days where there's nobody, because I'll see an email at 6 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the morning, all deputies report to the courthouse because it's that busy. Just the sheer mathematics of the increase of courtrooms and the increase of judges, and I know I made a joke of this, but I'm sure we bought 3 more staplers, for the 3 new courtrooms. You can't not bring on more sheriffs. That's our job. That's our job. You're going to be bringing on other people. I'm sure there's going to be tip staff assigned to that. I'm sure there's going to be, additional court reporters wherever they come from, additional interpreters with these trials. So, everybody gets looked at except for we're not on B2 by accident. The only thing lower than us is radon. We're on the basement. So that was a joke, a little delayed for everybody. But the controller's right. We're talking about people's safety. And I'm not talking as the director for Ben Siam. That's not my job anymore. But I do have the knowledge of 36, 37 years that gives me probably a little bit more hindsight than most people on what's going on in this county. I'm going to do everything to my last breath to make this county safe. No one's getting hurt on my watch because I didn't do everything to my full extent. And I'm not putting panic, I'm putting the truth. These are real stats from Chief McVeigh and Chief Friel. And I'm sure the same is throughout the county. And there's departments that can't house prisoners, so we got to take them. And I'm going to get them expeditiously to get cops back on the street, because that's what I promised the 100,000 people and voted for me. And those that don't even vote for me, they're going to get the same service. So I don't understand. I don't know the point of order here. I know a motion was made. I guess I can make a motion too, but this motion has to be voted on and it has to die, I guess.
Yeah, we have a motion and a second so far. I mean, I do want to, it's interesting to me. I've lived here my whole life. I didn't realize that Bucks County had become such a horrendously awful place based on what I'm hearing today. That's what I'm getting.
You can thank Philadelphia for that.
The information, the stats you're citing, the percentage increases in crime in those 2 townships that you chose, what was the beginning and ending dates of those percentages? From what date to what date were those increases happening?
That was from, I think they compared 19 to 21, pre-COVID.
So it's from 2019 to 2021.
I called them, I asked them for their percentage. I'm pretty sure it was 19 to 21. Could be 20 to 21.
In addition to the individual calendar, we've been working with the courts and with the IT and with the corrections on video courts. Once that technology is up and running, that's less transports back and forth. It's something else that we're looking forward to doing. I'm not disputing the fact, I think every department in this county, if you asked them if they wanted more people, would say, yes, I want more people. The DA wants more people. I'm sure. The PD definitely wants more people. General Services wants more people. And I'm not just talking about having trouble finding people because there just aren't people, as many individuals looking for jobs or want the jobs. I'm talking about just numbers. They just want them. So I'm not disputing the fact that you probably do need more. You probably could use more. The fact of the matter is that this board majority, this board, I should say, took over at a time when there was $8 million structural deficit that we have over the past couple of years done a very, very good job, I think, collectively, the bipartisan way, of patching that together and making it work. So, we're not just, trying to be obstinate or anything when we say that, you're adding an extra, do you know, do you have an idea of the?
$750,000 is what it adds for $750,000. If I hired all these people January 1, the increase would be $750,000. That's with equipment, that's with fringe benefits, that's with salary. That's the whole kit and caboodle. But as you heard me say, these people cannot be hired January 1 because
Right. Yeah, I understand. I understand the process. I also didn't hear, and I know it's a minor thing, 11 and 12, I don't think you addressed on your proposal, the permit specialist to sheriff's clerk.
I
What's
didn't get
that?
to, I didn't get to that.
What is that? Just
So we had a individual, one of the permit specialists retire yesterday. We want to make that a general position so that person could do any duty. So we have that's the person that they work on property confiscation, stuff like that. So that's a very meticulous, but I want to just make it a general position so I can move people around and I don't have to have people with titles. So, but it doesn't change the pay at all.
All right,
It's the
that's
same
fine.
pay.
All right, there was a motion and a second in terms of approving 2 new sheriff's deputies. Do you want to amend your motion for the permit specialist to sheriff's clerk?
No.
Okay. All right, so motion and a second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Opposed?
No.
Okay.
I make a motion to approve 8 deputies, 2 clerks, and the permit specialist position change to sheriff's clerk.
Second.
Okay.
I would like to just add one more thing. In the past couple months, crime is hitting Doylestown. Crime is hitting the upper part or middle part of Bucks, not just the southern end. I have not heard, maybe, I don't, up until this past year, carjackings occurred in Philadelphia. There was a carjacking right down the road on 611, just a few months ago. Also within the past month, few weeks, maybe it was a month ago, one of our row officers came in. Her son works here and he was late. And she said, yeah, her catalytic converter was stolen. Her son, literally in the middle of suburbia, just 5 o'clock in the morning or 6 o'clock in the morning or whatever it was. This is not what Bucks County should live with. Now, I know that's not your position. That is not the sheriff's duty, and you've admitted that. So I just wanted to reiterate that because it's been commented upon that that crime has not increased in Bucks County. Just in the past couple months, I've seen otherwise. So I just wanted to add that comment.
I just want to suggest also that our jail population is far lower than it was in 2014, 15, 16, 17, which is a better reflection. It's also filled with people who have addiction problems, which also speaks to the kind of issues that there are out there. However, just on a financial thing, with all due respect, I have watched our controller vote no on things that were of very minor cost to this county and now approve 8. I spoke with everyone yesterday separately just about this, and I thought there was an idea that we would be able to just vote for 2 today, 2 later, or 4 today, but 8 right now that you're not going to get funded, so you can't even go and 10 people, okay. You can't even go and put out a request for people to apply because you don't have the money. So why don't we just work together so that he can start hiring people by starting with a smaller number?
All right, well, there's a motion and a second to give the sheriff all the things he's been asking for here. So we have to vote on that if there are no more comments or questions. All right, so motion made. All in favor?
Aye.
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 No.
Opposed? No. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, no other matters to come before the board. Time crunch. Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.